What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Wandavision episode 4 preview video. If you haven't, you can check out my previous episode 3 breakdown and other Wandavision videos on my channel. We are heavily rumoured to have a perspective switch in episode 4. We have had Elizabeth Olsen hint that there will be a change in the upcoming episode, which I discussed in my last Wandavision video, which you can check out on my channel. Now, in my Discord, we spoke about the fact that there were actually some deleted scenes from episode 3, and these were missing from the promo when usually these scenes match up with the rest of the show. The most notable and glaring missing sequence is where Geraldine is yeeted out of the house, as we did not actually see that. The scene cut with her simply falling out of the bubble and landing slumped on the ground. In my last video, I predicted that this exposure to Wanda's powers and this weird reality combined will lead to her getting her powers, as in the comics, she had powers from extra-dimensional energy while being a cop. Hey, she works for S.W.O.R.D. here. See where we're going with this? Now, the perspective swap would then simply be S.W.O.R.D. discovering these issues with Wanda and the aftermath of Monica being yeeted out of Westview. We've already had merchandise and things like that where she's wearing her colours from the comics. So she has like a grey and black jumpsuit thing that she first had in the comics, and then it evolved into more of a modern outfit. And in the posters for this show, you can see her wearing that. So that's pretty much confirmation she is going to be getting her powers at least some way in this show. Now, the second deleted scene was when Wanda was putting together a house after Monica was then thrown out. Yes, while it's hard to exactly predict, we can make an educated guess, and please do remember that this is all speculation and educated guesses at the end of the day. I'm not saying that this or anything else in this video will definitely happen, because I don't know. I didn't work on the show. I expect that part of the episode 3 sitcom will continue on into the episode 4 one, as we even saw TV's favourite couple square up to each other in the 80s reality, hinting that there will be a throwdown between the pair coming before they eventually team up to save their reality. This is how we will see the change over to S.W.O.R.D., which would be very, very cool. I think that it will mostly focus on S.W.O.R.D. itself, especially as the first 3 episodes were the only ones given to press, which means it's a big one upcoming. And then episode 5 will be the Halloween episode, which is something I expect to be a big one, as well as later in this video. I think that that is when what I'm going to talk about will happen. The very outside opportunity is that we see some of the origin of S.W.O.R.D., especially as Monica would have had experience with the Skrulls, who appear to have been helping our boy Nick Fury at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, considering Wandavision takes place around August the 23rd on a Wednesday, which would be matching up with 2023, and the same time that Far From Home took place, well, yes, it looks like we might get Nick Fury, but again, that is a beyond outside prediction. Now, moving on, I'm going to talk about episode 5 briefly, and we have some interesting set photos that have resurfaced from Marvel Chile. So please be warned, as there are big spoilers here, and all credit to Marvel Chile for pushing these out last year. The photos show Catherine Hahn as Agnes in witch's robes, and of course, the lead theory for 99.99% of viewers is that she is indeed Agatha Harkness, a witch formerly of New Salem. New Salem in the comics, of course, dates far back to the original Salem witch trials, and hey, when was Ralph and Agnes's anniversary? Yes, June the 2nd was the pair's anniversary, the same day that the witch trials started. Now, in the comics, Harkness was actually heavily involved in the Salem witch trials, albeit a bit different from what it looks like here, with her sending her fellow witches to the trials to weed out the weak ones in her coven until the mutant Firestar in the Nova comic was time displaced and pleaded for her to think of a different path, which she did, and then went on to form the New Salem community in Colorado. Now, while I don't think that we are in the New Salem in Colorado, we're very much in New Jersey here, as Hackensack was mentioned, and we're also close to the SHIELD base that we saw in Endgame, and also the former Captain America base, which is the one and the same, and we saw that also in Captain America Winter Soldier. In WandaVision, I think we may just be in a spiritual version, as apples to apples comparisons of the comics and the MCU is kind of futile, as Kevin Feige himself has said he likes to change the story as we've read the story. Bold, yes, but I get it. I've read all of Game of Thrones and other shows where they've been adapted, and I really like it when I'm surprised myself. So to me, it is clear that we are heading back in time to a flashback and origin, and this might be where Agnes first met her husband, which is possibly a euphemism for a deal with Mephisto. If we are in a spiritual adaptation of New Salem, this would then explain Dottie. At some point, Agatha did leave the New Salem community, returned, and was hated by the new leader Vertigo of the Salem 7. Heck, Agatha was even burned at the stake in a issue where Scarlet Witch destroyed the New Salem community, killing Vertigo, who, funnily enough, is the daughter of Nicholas Scratch, the son of Agatha. Now, in that story, Wanda was captured after Agatha was murdered in New Salem and used as an offering, so here we are. I can theorize that based on the show, that Dottie is the leader of New Salem, which explains her high society position. And while she may not be Vertigo, I'm not saying she could be Vertigo, she could be Clea, Doctor Strange's lover in the comics, which would explain why this leads directly into Doctor Strange 2. Dottie is the leader of Westview, as Agnes says, and everyone must respect her, and perhaps Wanda has been brought to this community, but it has gone incredibly wrong, as Wanda is stupidly powerful and will go on to destroy it. This would explain a fair bit on why Wanda seems like the villain here and is threatened by outsiders. But again, apples to apples comparisons are really not the one. But overall, I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see more of Sword. And do you think that this is new? Now, there was a little thing that came out just while I was editing this video, and that was a new trailer called Prepare for the new episode, or they update the promos throughout the show's life, just like they did with Mandalorian. However, very, very interestingly, at the end is a brief shot of a pilot going into the Westview bubble. It's red, and we know there is a bit of red on that bubble because we've seen Geraldine, aka Monica, come flying out of it, and there was a bit of red briefly. So with that in mind, we have the daughter of a pilot in this show working for Sword, who also work with space, at least in the comics they did, and she's most naturally going to be a pilot. And this does explain why there was a helicopter, or a toy helicopter, in Wanda's front garden, because what it was a Sword helicopter. We heard the crash, so it seems very likely to me that Monica Rambeau was flying over and crashed into this bubble, and that explains why she wasn't in episode 1, and she popped up in episode 2, very, very confused as to why she was actually there. And I think that's really darned cool, because we have her crash and it explains why she is there. And then, like I said at the start of this video, Episode 4 will deal with the aftermath of not only her being in there, but, well, what happened afterwards and how they're going to work with that. So a very cool little thing there, and I do think that might be how she gets her powers even more, because she's exposed to going through that barrier a first time, and then she's thrown out while also having the hex powers of Wanda around her. So let me know what you think in the comments on that one too as well. Now, naturally, I had to go back to the movie Captain Marvel to take a look at this cockpit to see if it's similar to anything we saw in that movie, considering that connection. And as I said earlier in the video, the connection between the Skrulls and Monica would be pretty big, as she knew them as a child. And lo and behold, this does actually look like the inside of the quad jet that was upgraded by Talos in Captain Marvel. So it's very, very cool that there is that Easter egg. And I would imagine that it's been quite a few years, obviously, since the quad jet was upgraded. And considering the Skrulls will be working with Nick Fury, well, let's just hope that we have some really, really cool upgrades here. And perhaps the reason why it looked like a toy helicopter is because that's just how Wanda's reality had actually shown it to her and how her mind processed it. But yes, a very cool Easter egg nonetheless. I would love to hear what you think down below in the comments, and do check out our other videos on our channel. We'll be putting a stand video up tomorrow, and Friday we will be having a Wandavision episode 4 deep breakdown, and then some theory videos at the weekend. So again, please do drop a like down below. Please do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.